In today's episode, exciting adventures over the world's oceans will lead us to the old and magical lighthouse, with which you can amaze and delight your audience by using this mysterious and ingenious way to present the content of your work. By using C-related elements in combination with the magical lighthouse, you will reveal one by one the chapters of your work in an unseen manner before that will captivate even the sleeping cat. And to illustrate the unique things that you learn by watching today's episode, let's see together the presentation that the Smart Restaurant has prepared to introduce themselves and their brand new menus. Ladies and gentlemen, allows us to introduce you the Smart Restaurant, a welcoming place with a fascinating view and an unique philosophy where innovation meets culinary excellence. And to create culinary excellence, we need, of course, culinary inspiration that sit behind our new menus where our talented chefs blend traditional flavors with innovative techniques to create unforgettable dishes. But unforgettable dishes can't be created without unforgettable ingredients. So that's why we have the pleasure to reveal you the farm to table concept. Because here at the Smart Restaurant, we are sourcing the freshest bio ingredients directly from the local farmers and producers to guarantee you unique tastes and the healthiest meals from the entire industry. And finally, the most awaited moment has come, so please allow us to introduce you our brand new menus. Get ready to tantalize your taste buds with our signature dishes carefully crafted to showcase the best flavors and ingredients of the season. From mouth-watering appetizers to decadent desserts, there's always something for everybody to enjoy. And because you are on top of our priorities, please allow us to introduce you the perfect dining experience. So join us for an unforgettable dining experience at the Smart Restaurant, where impeccable service, elegant ambience, and exceptional cuisine comes together to create memories that last for a lifetime. With such an ingenious presentation, you can too, my friends, wow your audience and make it cry for more like this. So now make sure you won't lose the most important chapter, how it's made tutorial. And before we will start, let's see the techniques that we're going to use to create this mysterious and awesome presentation. Number 1, shape combination and filling to create the central piece of the presentation, a lighthouse. If you want to find out more of what you can create with the shapes, in this video you have 15 different elements that can inspire you. Number 2, animations triggered by shapes combined with shadows and glow effect. If you want to master these, then this video will fit like a glove for you. Number 3, the punching technique, which involves combining shapes with text and create holes that will be revealed by the magical light. And finally, number 4, the piano structure of the linked buttons with the slides. And to go on top of your own game with this technique, this video is everything you need to know. So let's start playing with our mouse and create a nice lighthouse. For this, we're gonna need just 6 different types of shapes, so it's not going to be difficult at all. We're gonna need just a rectangle, a trapezoid, then for the lighthouse walls we're gonna need this magnetic disc, while for the doors and the windows we're gonna need this delay. Then for the roof we're gonna need an isosceles triangle, and finally for the light, of course, we're going to need a circle. And that's it. The combination of all these 6 shapes is gonna result in our beautiful lighthouse. Nothing else is required. Okay, let's start with the base of the lighthouse. We're gonna have the following dimensions, a 0.5 and a 4.5. That's great with no outline. And then from the fill perspective, we're gonna pick the pattern, and I'm gonna pick this type of brick with the blue color. That's perfect. Let's position it here, and let's go on with the second element, which is this trapezoid. for which we're gonna have the following dimensions. The height is going to be of 1.38 and the width is going to be of 2.32. The same approach with no outer line and the same pattern fill, but this time we're gonna pick the red color. Now let's position it here, and that's perfect. Let's go on with the third element that is going to form the walls of the lighthouse. We're gonna have 2 dimensions. This is going to be a height of 1.2 and the width of 1.4, and the others are going to be a little bit smaller, of a height just of 1. That's great. Now let's duplicate these. Let's pick 2 colors, the red and the white. We're gonna lose the outline later on because now will serve as a guideline. This is going to be also a white, and now let's send it to back and let's position it here, okay, until we will hide this part. That's perfect. And now it's going to be easy to put all the others on top. Let's move this to front. Now let's duplicate this red one more time and the white. Let's adjust this a little bit, and finally that's perfect. We have now all the walls of the lighthouse so far, and we can now pass to the second element, meaning to the second trapezoid, which this time is going to be rotated. We're gonna work now to create the balcony. So for this trapezoid we're going to have a 0.8 here as a height and a 2.67 as a width and no outline. We're going to remove also the other outlines. Now, okay, and from the fill perspective, let's put a gradient and let's add 3 colors. We're going to have 2 whites and a red, and the red will be positioned right where you want. I want it in this way. And let's bring it here on top. Now it's perfect. Okay, let's go on with the second element of the balcony. So we're gonna have a very tight rectangle here. This is going to be of a 0.14 as a height, while the width is going to be way longer, so it's going to be a 3.44. Okay, and we're gonna position it somewhere here and at the middle. That's great. Let's put now the last wall. This time is going to be a fill of a blue, something like that, and we're gonna also apply a bevel. It's going to be around convex, okay, and we're gonna position it a little bit below. Okay, that's great, and let's continue in the handrail now. Let's copy these and let's change a little bit the size, because we're gonna make it of 3.47 here, and the other dimension is going to be of just 0.05. Okay, and this is going to be brown with no outline. Okay, let's position it something here. That's great. And finally the vertical rails. Now we can use also these, but we're gonna change dramatically the dimensions. So the height is going to be 0.34, but this time the width is going to be just 0.05. Okay, let's move, let's increase the zoom, sorry, and let's position it. So it's something like this. let's remove the outline of this one. Okay, let's position it here, then let's move this on top. Okay, now let's duplicate this line and try to position it in the best possible way so that in the end we're gonna have an even repartition. That's super good. Now let's move just a little bit here. That's super perfect. Okay, let's adjust a little bit the size here from 43 to 48. Okay, and a little bit of move to the left, and now it's perfect. Okay, let's go on with the next element before the roof, which is another rectangle. So let's format it. It's going to be 0.24 with 1.4, also with no outline and with a red fill, and let's position it here. Okay, and finally the isosceles triangle for the roof, let's format it also. Is going to be 0.78 here with the 1.4 here. Now let's position it also, and now let's remove the outline, and maybe at the top let's put a very small circle. Something like this with no outline. Now let's group these together and put a pattern fill with this type of brick, but in this kind of combination, and it's going to look way better. Great. And finally, the last element, which is the most important for what we want to do, meaning the light. Okay, let's format it. It's going to be of 0.6 with 0.6. That's going to be the first element, which is going to be positioned right over here. Okay, then surely no outline, and from the fill perspective, let's put this white with darker 15%, and let's put also a round bevel. Okay, and these elements should be on front, this and these. And now for the second element, let's change the background to have everything more visible. So let's put a solid fill with one single color and a darker one. Okay, let's duplicate these. Let's fill it this time with white. Okay, let's go to the effects, and from the shadow perspective, let's take again the white. Let's move the blur to 70% to 73 points, and the angle to 30 degrees, because we want the light to go into this direction. Okay, and the distance is going to be 100 points. And now, as you can see, the light is in this direction. If I'm going to increase the angle, for example at 90 degrees, it's in this direction, and we don't want this, we want in this direction. So let's return to the 30 degrees. Okay, and finally for the glow, let's take again the white, and let's put as size also 100 points. When the lighthouse is going to be turned on, then this light is going to be generated. Now let's create the last elements, meaning the windows and the door, before we're passing to the animations. So let's duplicate these. Let's rotate it with 90 degrees to the left. And for door, let's put the next dimensions, width 0.64, and the height is going to be 0.58. Okay, with this kind of color and no outline. We also need to put a bevel, and is going to be this relaxed inset. Now let's position it here, and if you can't position it to the middle, then select both of them and say align, and then align center, and you're good to go. Now let's create the windows. So we're going to use the same type of object, but this time with the height of 0.33 and the width of 0.35. Okay, and the color is going to be this type of white with gray accents. So let's position it in the middle, which is going to be here. Then let's duplicate and position it again up, again here, and this is going to be in this location. Okay, just that this one is not in the same direction with the others. Now it is. Now the fourth window. Okay, and now the fifth window. So everything is now in place, and we can pass to the next phase, meaning the animations. For the animations, we need first to put appropriate names for the windows, because they will represent the triggering buttons, and if this is not alright, then it's going to be difficult to follow everything. So let's go to the selection pane and let's identify these buttons. So let's call these chapter 1, then this is going to be chapter 2, this is going to be chapter 3, this is going to be chapter 4, and finally this is going to be chapter 5. While the door is going to be called turn off. Alright, and the light is going to be this one, and the element that will represent the backlight will also have properties related with shadows and glow. So let's suppose this is going to be our backlight element. So let's put it okay with no outline and a fill of white, and then from the shape format and effects, we're gonna put the shadow as white, size 100%, blur is going to be 50 points, the angle is going to be 0, and the distance is going to be 100 points. While from the glow perspective, we're also going to pick the white, and the size is going to be also 100 points. And then we will adjust this element depending on the shape that we're going to have, depending on how big or how small that is going to be. But now let's organize the background, and for these let's insert a picture, and we're gonna pick as the search word wave, and this is our picture. After the download, we will crop it to the aspect ratio 16:9, and let's make sure that we'll have more water than the sky. So this is going to be the crop position. Okay, then let's position it here and let's fill the slide. Then we will make some adjustments because we want a darker color. So from the picture corrections, we'll set up a brightness of -51% and a contrast of 36. Okay, and let's create a new slide and have a backup of this picture here. Okay, and now I'm gonna say copy to put it on the clipboard, and from here we're gonna format the background as picture or texture fill, and now we have what we want. So we can now remove these shapes as we don't need them anymore, and we are almost ready to create the animations, meaning that we need now the first shape that will contain the mystery that will be revealed when the lighthouse is going to be turned on. So we can have different options, but for the first options I prefer to create it from shapes, and that's gonna be the case of the bottle. For that I'm going to use a rectangle with rounded corners. Then also is going to be used a trapezoid, and for this one we will have to rotate it a little bit like this, and practically this is going to be the bottle of the neck of the bottle, sorry. And finally for the final part we can put also this one. We can rotate it and we can make it a little smaller. Okay, put no outline for each one of the shapes. Great. And now select everything and then union, and now we have our first element, which is the bottle. Then we can increase it something like this, and here we're gonna create our first chapter. So now insert a text, and this is going to be chapter 1, and here is going to be placed the message. Okay, we want to be smaller. This is going to be, let's say, 44. And now we want to punch this bottle in order to make holes related with the message. So click this, click the bottle, then shape format, and then say combine. In this moment we have the holes, and now we'll place these above the holes, and the idea is to set these as background, the slide background field, and now we will have a nice silhouette of the bottle. And let's position these here on top of the other. If you don't know precisely, then you can take a look here at the position, and this 194 with 101, 194 with 109. So 194 with 109, and we have positioned it in the same precise location. Okay, and then you can play with the size of the backlight so that the silhouette of the element can be visible as you want. So you can make it smaller, bigger, depending on the needs. And finally, now the animation. So the animation is going to be triggered by chapter 1, and practically these will have to be turned on, so will have to appear, and then also the lights should go on. So practically, let's click here, let's go to the animations, and let's pick the fade animation. Okay, and let's make it of 2 seconds. Let's see the animation pane. We'll start after previous, and then we will select this element and we're gonna make it as wipe, with the effect from the left is going to start with previous and is going to have a duration of 2.5, and with a delay of 0.25, and both of them are going to be triggered by chapter 1. Okay, so this is for the first animation, and then we'll want to turn off the lighthouse, and to turn it off, then of course we need the disappear element. So let's select them one more time. Let's add the animation, but I don't want to put the same effect to both of them, so the light is going to be fade. Okay, and then for the backlight is also going to be wipe. Okay, again from the left with the same durations like initial. Okay, and this will happen after previous, with previous, and with a 0.25 delay, and both of them are going to be triggered this time by the door, because we want them to disappear when the door is going to be pressed, meaning the turn off. Okay, now let's go into the full presentation mode and let's analyze. So initially the lighthouse is turned off. When we're going to press this button, then the light will go on and we will be able to see the message, while when we're going to press the door, then again the lighthouse is going to be turned off, and the silhouette of the body and respectively the punched holes will not be visible again. I will make one more adjustment to the roof of the lighthouse, because I want to put it also a bevel here, and let's make this as round, and now it's perfect. We've got the first slide, we've got the animations, and now we can multiply the slide and do pretty similar things with the rest. Now we're going to apply the same technique that I developed in the movie with the smart objective, meaning that we're gonna duplicate this slide and we're gonna create 4 more slides like this, and they will represent, let's say, the false target, and then these button and all these 5 buttons that represents the windows of the lighthouse will act also as animation trigger, but will also act as a connection with the other slides. So this is going to be connected with slide number 1. This is going to be connected with slide number 2. This is going to be connected with slide number 3. This is going to be connected with slide number 4. And finally, this is going to be connected with slide number 5. Once we have done that, then we can erase these slides. So delete them. This I'm gonna preserve it because I want to maybe use it later, so I will put it in another presentation. Okay, and now we can finally duplicate this slide and add it always, but in a certain order. So this is the first duplicate, then the second duplicate will always move at the back. Remember to keep this order, otherwise it's not going to function. Duplicate and move it at the back, and finally duplicate it and move it at the back. And with these we have assured all the functionalities for all the buttons within the lighthouse. Now we can create the next 5 slides that will contain the additional details for the first 5 slides when we're going to reveal the content of the chapters. And here you can put pretty much anything. You can put pictures, you can put whatever you want. And because I don't want to make these too long, I will just put a text, but you can put whatever you want. So here I'm going to be the details for chapter 5. Okay, and we can copy these and put here details for chapter 4, details for chapter 3, details for chapter 2, and details for chapter 1. They will represent the connections. That's great. Now the only element that we should create now is related with the silhouettes that will correspond to slide number 2, 3, 4, and 5. To create the rest of the silhouettes, let's insert some icons. And here, if you will put the right word, then you will get what you want. So for example, we want some shells. Okay, then we want some fish. Okay, then we want a barrel. Okay, and finally we want an octopus. Okay, we've got the silhouettes. We now just have to apply my 7-step technique. If you haven't seen that movie, then please go ahead, because it's the only thing that you can do in order to make these elements fillable, these icons. And we're gonna do it only one single time, and then we will convert all of them in our silhouette. So for these, we just need another shape. After we will convert all of them into shapes, then we're going to insert one more shape. It doesn't matter what, we have here, really doesn't matter. Then we have to make sure that they are ungrouped, otherwise it won't work. Okay, and for the fish, it's an ungroup. Now select these and fragment. Again, select these and fragment. Select these and fragment. Then select these and fragment. Now we've got what we want. We don't need an outline. And now we can do one more thing. If you want to preserve everything, we can union. And with the union, we've got our perfect silhouette to be used with our lighthouse. That's great. So now let's see which one is going to be used for second slide. Let's see. Let's select the shape of the seashell. Okay. You can adjust them in whatever place you want. Then here we're gonna use the octopus. Again, press the shift if you want to preserve the aspect ratio. This barrel is going to be rotated. And I don't want to preserve the aspect ratio at the barrel. And now the fish, for the fish I do want to preserve the aspect ratio, so keeping the shift and making it something like this. All right, now here we have placed chapter 1, the message. Here we will put something similar. Chapter 2, let's say extra info, and let's make it a little bit smaller to 44. Now let me copy these to put it also in the other 3 slides. Chapter 3, super event. I'm randomly position the text here. It doesn't matter, it depends on what are your real needs. Super context, and chapter 5 words. Okay, now we just have to combine them and create the punched holes. Then go to shape and combine. We've got it. Now we can delete these and put the shape here instead. Then select slide background fill, and now you can adjust the backlight so that will fit with your actual needs of the respective silhouette. In my case, this is approximately good. Now I'm gonna increase a little bit like this and a little bit down, and now the silhouette is perfectly backlighted. Now for the octopus, really the octopus matched the super event. Now let's make it a little bit like this. Okay, select both of them and then combine. Okay, we can erase these. Let's put slide background fill, and again now you will have to play with the backlight to make sure that it's going to serve your needs, your new needs related with this type of silhouette. In my case, I think this is very well. Now for the barrel, select it and combine. We have now the punched. For the barrel, it's going to be very well fit. Slide background, again move it and adjust the backlight size to give super nice silhouette. And finally for the fish, let's move this here and combine. Okay, then slide background fill, and the silhouette of the fish, it's almost perfect. Let's look for the backlight, but if we can't move it easily, then let's make it like this. And now the silhouette of the fish, it's perfect. Or if you want, you can even increase here this part a little bit more, and now it's the final result. There are three more things to be done right now. One is to create the connections between the silhouettes and slides 6 to 10, then to create a returning link from slides 6 to 10 to slides 1 to 5, and then to make sure that the animations will work properly for each one of the buttons, meaning of the windows. Okay, so this is going to have a connection with slide number 6. This silhouette is going to have a connection with slide number 7. The octopus is going to have a connection with slide number 8 for additional details from there. The barrel is going to have a connection with slide number 9. And finally, the fish is going to have a connection with slide number 10. Logically, the returning link from these slides to the 1 to 5 should not be visible for the viewers, so that's why we're going to use a shape and we're going to make it invisible. So the presenter should position the shape in a certain area of the slide so that we'll know precisely where to click to be able to return. So I will put it in the top right corner. Okay, and let's copy it and apply it to the other slides. Then let's create the connections and then let's make it invisible. So this is going to have a connection with slide number 1, and then it's going to be no outline and no fill. Of course, there are different ways to hide a shape in PowerPoint. I've done even a short video with this, you can check it out. So this is gonna have a connection with slide number 2, then will become invisible. This, I can't make it invisible and then create the connection. Has to be the other way. So this is going to have a connection with slide number 3. Now we can make it invisible. This is going to have the connection with slide number 4. Now we can make it invisible. And finally, this is going to have a connection with slide number 5. And then we are able to make it invisible. And now the last element to make sure that the buttons or the windows will trigger the right animation. So let's go to the animation and animation pane. In the original configuration, all the backlights were triggered by the first window, but we don't want that, because hitting the first window now will always make a connection with slide number 1, so we won't be able to trigger the light for the other 4 slides. So now we have to change this. So here, instead of trigger chapter 1, we'll have to make the trigger chapter 2, here trigger chapter 3, and so on. But when we're gonna create this change, we'll mix the things up here, and we have to take care of them. So first, let's select these ones, and then let's change the trigger. So here is going to be the chapter 2, and now as you can see, they have moved back, and I don't want that. They have to be in the front position and then the turn off in the second position. So that's why I'm gonna select these, I'm gonna move them back, but here logically they will lose the trigger, so I have to make sure that I will connect with the trigger one more time, which is turn off. And now it's okay, and I have to do manually the same elements for the other 3 remaining. So this is chapter 3, then select these, move them here, then let's put the trigger for them, which is the turn off. Then here, this will have the trigger as chapter 4. Then let's move these back and select their appropriate trigger. And finally, the last slide with these having the trigger of chapter 5. Okay, and now these are moved here and they have the trigger as turn off. Now everything is in place, we have finished it, and we can make the double check to see that everything works properly, and we create the magic for our audience. So we are on chapter 1. Now everything is without any kind of light. When we're gonna press the first window, the light of the lighthouse will be visible, and we will reveal the content of chapter 1. Clicking the silhouette, and we will present the details for chapter 1. Now if I'm gonna click here, as you can see, we'll move forward with the details for chapter 2, and this is not what we want. I went back. Now we have to click on the hidden link that will turn back to the chapter 1. Great. Now let's turn the light off, then we can advance to the second chapter. Now we are on the second slide, and now we will trigger the lights. Everything works perfect. The chapter 2 content is revealed. Click here and we can see the details for chapter 2. Then we will be back here and turn off the lighthouse. Now let's advance to the third slide. Click here, and then one more click. We're going to reveal the content of chapter 3. Then click off the octopus, and we're going to reveal the details for chapter 3. Then let's go back here and we can turn it off. And then let's move forward, click to slide number 4, and here we will trigger the light for revealing the silhouette and the content of chapter 4 here with the details. And for example, if we won't turn off the lighthouse and we're gonna advance, okay, so here I'm on slide 5, I have triggered now the lights with the details, and I am back. If I will now go back to slide number 4, I will still have these visible. So I can go back in whatever chapter, in a previous chapter, but I will encounter the previous left position, meaning if I switched the light off, I will find it off. If I let it on, I will find it on. So you can play with these and create a nice and magical presentation that will wow your audience.
Oh, finally. It's my turn. I know that has been a long video, but the creativity requires additional effort if you want to create the magic and impress your audience. We hope that by this original approach, we have inspired you, and also convinced you to give it a try and create something similar for your next presentation, or at least, to try to come up with a little extra thing than you are normally do. And if you really enjoyed our content, then please, manifest it, with a like and subscribe and also with a share of this video. It's so simple. You just have to copy the link from the browser and then share it with your friends, because in this way, we get the chance to have our work promoted to more persons that really want to go to the next level in their business and presentation skills. Thanks for everything and see you in the next episode. Or maybe after the next wave.